Hello everyone and welcome back in part 7th of our Bear Act. In my earlier videos I have discussed each article from 1 to article 35. That means I end the part 3rd, that means fundamental right of the Indian Constitution. Today onwards we are going to discuss DPSP, that means Directive Principles of State Policy, that enshrined in part 4th of the Indian Constitution. Okay, and DPSP is from article 35, 36 to 51 and we will discuss it. But in this video we are going to discuss from article 36 to 44. Here I have added the screenshots of the articles as you can see here. Okay, so if you want to read it you can download it from my Telegram channel. First, if you don't know the channel name, then comment in this video link. I will provide you to the link of the Telegram channel, and in which you will get all the PDF of the lectures. Okay, so today we are going to discuss DPSP, that is Directive Principles of State Policy. That means simple, that whenever a state will draft any policy, some are the directives that are given by the Constitution they had to follow. That simple meaning. So from article 36 to 51, but article 36 is giving the definition of the state, and the definition of the state will be same as in part 2nd article number 12 of the Indian Constitution. That means the definition of the states that are provided in the fundamental right part 3rd of the Constitution, that particular definition will be same as in part 4th DPSP also. So article 36 is talking about the definition of the state, and article 37 is about that this part shall not be enforceable by any court of law. That means article 37 making the DPSP not enforceable. This article provided that you can't go to Supreme Court or High Court merely that some provisions of the DPSP are not implemented by the government of India. So article 37 is talking about the applicability of the DPSP, that is Directive Principles of the State Policy. As you all know, fundamental rights are enforceable in nature. Under article 32 you can go to Supreme Court to make it enforceable, and under article 226 you can go to High Court also to make it enforceable. That means fundamental right, but that is not in the case with the DPSP. So article 37 about talking about the applicability or enforceability of the DPSP. Okay, and here you can see that this is the fundamental in the governance of the country. Even UPSC has just copied this statement from the Constitution of India and framed your UPSC prelims question. Okay, that means which part of the Indian Constitution is the fundamental in the governance of the country or the governance of the any territory, that is enshrined in the article 37 DPSP. Okay, so this is about article 37. I will discuss it each article in detail, but let me tell you how the articles or how the text is basically of the each article. In article 38 is talking about state to secure a social order for the promotion of the welfare of the people. That simply means that article 38 talking about the welfare of the people, but in a broad spectrum, that means in the perspective of a whole society. Okay, so the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people. How? By securing and protecting as effectively as may be social order, in which there are certain kind of justices mentioned in this article, that is social, economic and political. So there are three type of justices that are mentioned here that you should keep in your mind, because UPSC has asked direct questions. Okay, so justice, there are three type of justice that are mentioned in article 38: social, economic and political justice. Okay, and it also clause 2 that strive to minimize the inequalities in income. Even UPSC has also framed a question about the concentration of the wealth. Okay, that is inequality in the concentration of wealth. So this article also prohibits the concentration of wealth and promotes the distribution of the wealth. Okay, so this was about the article 37. Okay, now part 4th DPSP, article 36 gives the definition of the state. Will be the definition of state will be same as in the part 3rd article 12 of the Indian Constitution. Okay, so whether article 36 define the definition of state? Yes, article 36 and article 12 both defines the definition of the state. Okay, so it has same meaning as article 12. That means within the definition of the state, which includes government of India, parliament, state government and legislature. Okay, apart from this, even local bodies like municipality and panchayat also included in the definition of state, and other authorities that are comes under the control of the government of India, that also comes in the definition of the state, and the definition of the state will be same as article 12 part 3rd of the Indian constitution. That is the basis of the article 36. So it gives definition that is same as article 12, and also it applies only to part 4th. Okay, now article 37, that means applicability or enforceability, that I have discussed earlier as well, that this provision contained that this part shall not be enforceable by any court of law. That means you can't go just Supreme Court, high court to make it enforceable, right? You have no right to go, because as you see that when your fundamental rights are being violated, then you can go to Supreme Court or High Court under respective articles. But if you want to implement certain DPSP, then you can't go to Supreme Court. That government should implement certain DPSP. That is the basic of the Article 37. So Article 37 explains the natures of the directive principles. That means the directive principles are not enforceable in nature. Okay, they can't be enforced by any court, but they are fundamental in the governance of the country, and the government should keep them in mind while making the policies. That means the directives that are given by the constitution, that should be keep in mind while state preparing any policy or drafting any policy. That is the simple meaning. Okay, from exam point of view, what you need to mug up is that DPSPs are not justiciable. Okay, and they are fundamental in the governance, and also imposes moral and constitutional obligation as well. Okay, now article 38. So article 38 contain two clause that I have discussed it, that means concentration of wealth also in clause number 2. Okay, so state to secure a social order, but how? Because they have to promote the welfare of the country. So clause 1 says that the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people. How? By securing social order. And there are three kind of justices that are mentioned, that means social, economic and political justice. Okay, so the government should work to establish society based on social justice, economic justice and political justice. And clause 2 is about the minimization of the inequalities in the terms of their income, status, facilities or the opportunity. Okay, even UPSC has asked a question about the concentration of wealth. Okay, so if we will go through the UPSC previous year polity question, there are many questions that are directly taken from the text of the Constitution of India from the DPSP part 4. Okay, so this was about the article 38. Now the government should reduce inequality among the people in the terms of income, status, opportunity and living condition. From the exam point of view, you need to learn that article 38 talking about the welfare state. It is also talking about that prohibited concentration of wealth, and they are talking about three kind of justices, that are social, economic and political justice. Now article 39 of the Indian Constitution. So article 39 provided equal justice and free legal aid, but every and each citizen of India are not eligible to get the free legal aid. Okay, there are certain conditions, certain requirement that you need to fulfill if you want to secure a free legal aid. Okay, so it was aided by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, that basically talking about the free legal aid, and it is also talking about that certain principles of policy that should be followed by the state. It has different clause, and clause 1 about the right, equal right to adequate means of livelihood, that no person shall be basically sleep without getting 2-day meal, 1-day meal, right? So the state will ensure that every person has to get equal right to adequate means of livelihood. That means every person shall have the opportunity to earn their livelihood. And clause B is about the ownership and control of the material resources that should be served to the common goods. That means whatever and the natural resources that are available in the country, they should be distributed equally. Okay, so that everyone can get benefit from it, and they can benefit whole of the society. Now clause 3 is about the concentration of wealth. That means you have to develop such economic system that does not promote the concentration of wealth. Okay, that means wealth should not be remains concentrated in one hand. Now clause D also talking about equal pay for equal work for both men and women. That simple means if there is a similar kind of task that are performed by the men also and women also, then they need equal wages or equal salary, because the task is same and men and women both are performing the same task, so they also need equal salary as well. Okay, So men and women should receive equal wages for equal work. Clause E. Clause E talking about health and strength of workers should not be abused. That means you can't force any worker or anyone who are working in your factory that you should complete your task even if you are ill. Okay, that is the against this provision. Okay, so health and strength of workers should not be abused. Now workers should be protected from exploitation. Now clause F is about the children that need to develop in their mind the freedom and also dignity, and freedom and dignity should be protected of children as well. Okay, so every child deserve safety, education and healthy environment. That is basic of the article 39 that included various clause, and I have explained each clause one by one. From exam point of view, that means one of the most important DPSP provision and basis for many welfare laws and also for the labor. Okay, but let me talk about article 39, and this article provides free legal aid, and it was included by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1976. Okay, so the text is that states shall ensure equal justice and provide free legal aid so that justice is not denied. Why? Just merely because of the economic or other disabilities. Now suppose there are two party, one is too rich and one is too poor, and the poor one can't basically they can't manage the fee to hire any legal practitioner or advocate, right? So government will provide them with free legal aid and even the expenses that will incur during the cases, whether it will be of photocopy or any other type of expenses, that also will be provided by the government of India. Okay, so this provision basically providing equal atmosphere for rich and the poor as well. Okay, so justice should not be depend on person's financial condition, and poor people should also receive free legal aid. So from exam point of view, it was inserted by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, and it provide equal justice and also free legal aid. Okay, equal justice and equal and free legal aid both are different component. Okay, so this was about article 39 and article 39A. As you can see here, article 39 have a different clauses. Okay, and article 39 provides some principles that should be followed by state while drafting their policy. Okay, I have discussed each clause, as you can see here towards the F, that means about the children also. Okay, then article 39 now comes to article number 40 of the DPSP, and this article is talking about the organization of the village panchayat. Okay, then the state shall take step to organize village panchayat. For what? To organize village panchayat and endow them with such power. As you all know that panchayat got constitutional status by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1973, and there schedule also added, schedule 11, that contain 29 items, right? Now panchayat can make law among or from these 29 items, so endow with them such power and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function unit as a self government. That is the basis of article number 14. Okay, let us discuss it in a simple way. So article 14 is article 40 is about the organization of the village panchayat. Okay, the text here that states shall organize village panchayat and give them power necessary to function as a unit of self government. Now the government will establish village panchayat and also strengthen them, and this article inspired the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, and from exam point of view, this article is about the village panchayat or rural local self government. Now article 41, if you want to read the text, original text, you can go through it. I have added the screenshot, but from now I will discuss it here. Okay, so article 41, now article 41 says that everyone should have a right to work, to educate and to also public assistance in certain cases. That means the state shall make effective provision for what? To get right to work, to get right to education, and for the public assistance while unemployment, old age, sickness and disability. But as you all know that the provisions of the DPSP are not enforceable in any court of law. That means you can't go to Supreme Court or High Court to make such provision enforceable. Okay, from simplest form, that government should help people by providing opportunity, for employment, for educational and financial assistance during the unemployment, sickness, disability and old age. Okay, but this obviously will depend on the state's economic capacity. So article 41 talking about the welfare state, also it talks about the social security. Now article 42, article 42 is something that is very very important if any workers are working on in the any industrial zone or in any industry. Okay, because what happened that the boss of the industry or the manager who are managing that particular industry imposed heavy task on the worker. Okay, and so the workers is not able to focus on their health and their healths get deteriorated each and every time. That's why this article number 42 is talking about the humane condition of works, and also it is talking about a maternity relief for the women. Okay, so government should ensure that safe working conditions should be provided to the workers and girls and women. Humane treatment should be given to the women or anyone who is working in particular institution, and also maternity benefit for women employees. Okay, from exam point of view, it drives labor welfare and apart from maternity relief. So this is the basis of article 41 42. Okay, now article number 43, article number 43 talking about living wages for the workers. Okay, there is a two concept. One concept is about living wages and second concept is talking about minimum wages. Now minimum wages should be 100 rupees, maybe 100 rupees or 200 rupees. But if you will go into the market to purchase some grocery, that may be not sufficient. Okay, but for the living, if you require 300 rupees per day, that living wages should be provided. And when you will go to purchase some groceries for your daily essential, okay, now you can purchase whole grocery as you want for daily essential. So this is the concept of living wages, that the minimum, the bare amount that is essential for a living, that wages should be provided. But minimum wages doesn't mean that how much money you require to sustain your life or to expend it on a daily life basis on groceries or other expenses. Okay, so article 43 talking about the living wages for worker. The state shall endeavor to secure living wages, decent standard of life and leisure, okay, and social and economic opportunities. It also promote cottage industries as well. Now simplest explanation is that workers should receive wages sufficient for a dignified life, not merely enough to survive. That's why I have differentiated between living wages and minimum wages. Minimum wages may be not sufficient to live. Okay. Now, from exam point of view, living wages and cottage industries provided under Article 43, and then again Article 43A. It was also added by 42nd Constitution Amendment Act 1976, and this article is talking about industrial democracy. That means participation of worker in the management of the industries. That is the concept of industrial democracy. Now, the state will shall take steps to secure participation of the workers in the management of industries. Okay, so that means workers should also have role in the decision making process, while any decision is basically taken by the industry, there should be participation of worker as well. That is the basis. Okay, now the last article for today, article 44, uniform civil code. Okay, now the state shall endeavor to secure the citizen for a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. That means article 44 encourages the government toward one common civil law for all citizens regarding matters such as marriage, divorce, adoption, inheritance, succession. Okay, and suppose there is a Muslim has a different law of succession or different law of marriage, divorce, etc., and human and Hindu have a different laws. But when uniform civil code that is related to civil laws will implemented in the whole territory or the territory of India, the law will be applicable to every religion, doesn't matter who belongs to which religion. That is the simple meaning of the uniform civil code, but it is matter of civil only. Okay, so the objective is to provide legal uniformity in civil matter with respecting the constitutional process. Now at present you know that there are different personal laws applied to different religious communities in many matters, but article 44 expresses the constitutional goal working toward a uniform civil code. So UCC, DPSP, not a fundamental right, and frequently asked in UPSC and state pieces I have added because it is important. Let us take a quick revision and then wrap up this lecture. Article 36 about definition of state, article 37 that means nature of the DPSP, the DPSP is not enforceable in any code of law. Article 38 talking about social welfare and reduce inequality. Article 39 about livelihood, equal pay and child welfare till clause F. And Article 39A provide equal justice and free legal aid. Article 40 about village panchayat. Article 41 right to work, education and public assistance. And Article 42 for the humane condition. Article 43 about the living wages and cotton industry. And Article 43A talking about the participation of worker. Okay, and Article 44 for the uniform civil code. And if you want to read the original text, you can read here. I have added till Article 44. Okay, so Article 43 talking about the participation of worker in management. Article 44 talking about the uniform civil code. Okay, and Article 41 right to work, to education and to public assistance. Article 42 for human condition, and Article 43 for the living wages. Okay, so I have discussed each article in detail clause by clause, and let me know in the comment section how was this video after watching this. And if you like this initiative, let me know in comment section, and subscribe also, like the video. Okay, so bye bye.